Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am coming at you today with my second updated installment of my top 5 series. So my first updated one went up in June, and that was my top 5 foundations. My second one, which is what we're doing today, is my top 5 concealer. So looking back, I did my last top 5 concealer video on June 12th of 2018. So it's been just over a year and a month. And my top 5 concealers were the Catrice Liquid Camo Concealer, the Charlotte Tilbury Retoucher Pen, the Dior Skin Forever Undercover Concealer, the Bare Minerals Bare Pro, Bare Minerals Summer Bisque, and Stellar Limitless Concealer. So those were 6, and I'm going to tell you, I have 6 today too. None of them are the same. That is not because I still don't love those concealers. In fact, looking at all of these, I have not fallen out of love of any of these. I either have run out of them and not repurchase because I have a whole drawer full of concealers I need to get through. I have had them expire on me. I use them in my kit, or yeah, those really are the 3 things. Still love all of them. Truly love all of them. They're just not going to be talked about today, which I kind of like because it just shows 6 more options. Now, a lot of these you will probably know about because there was, I know, at least probably a 3 or 4 month section of time last year where I used only 2 of these, and I talked about them nonstop in my favorites. But if you did not see those videos, or if you're new to my channel, all of these might be new to you. So let's go ahead and get started. I kind of like with foundations, don't really have one that stands out above the rest. I have a combination that stands out above the rest, so I guess I'll save that for last. But otherwise, I'm going to talk about these in no particular order. Now, for those of y'all watching, I am 38 years old. I have normal to dry skin. Really, it's not really that dry anymore. It used to get dry from retinol, but it doesn't anymore, so it's more on the normal side. And I have normal 38-year-old under eyes. So I deal with the fine lines, I deal with the creping and the creasing and the occasional dryness, especially in winter. So that's what we're dealing with when I'm talking about these concealers. If I talk about one that you don't like, no need to tell me how much you hate it in the comments. We all are different. I'm just telling you the ones that work best for me. So I'm just going to pull this one out and start talking about it. This is the Josie Maran Vibrancy Argan Oil Full Coverage Concealer Fluid. This is actually is it the second or possibly third one? I just opened this like last week. This is in the color Light, and I'm going to check on something because I got this one from QVC, but I feel like this isn't the color that I used to use way back when. So I'm going to see on Sephora because sometimes QVC will have different color names or options than other retailers. No, I probably did get Light. Okay, well, anyways, this is Light. Comes in the standard doe foot applicator, and I will swatch just a little bit just so you can see the undertone of it. So that's the color Light. I mean, let me count the ways of why I like this concealer. Truly, a lot of this is going to be redundant. So a lot of what I say about why I like this is why I like all of them. I'll try not to repeat myself too much, but it is nice in coverage. I do think it is a solid, like medium to full coverage. I don't think it's as full as another one I'm going to talk about, but it is on that side of the spectrum. It's definitely not sheer or light coverage. It's because it has the argan oil in it, I find it to be very moisturizing. Now, because of this, if you have oily skin, you might not like it if your under eyes tend to get oily as well. Now, I know we don't have pores under our eyes, but, you know, if you have oily skin, the oil can migrate. So that might not work for you. But for me, I find that it's very moisturizing, hydrating, but it's not so emollient that it's going to crease and kind of move around on me all day. So I just have really loved it. Obviously enough to repurchase it. I'm trying to think. There's only one other concealer I'm going to talk about that I actually have repurchased. So that says a lot to me about how much I love a product when I have so many other ones in my drawer to go through that I would still repurchase it when I finish it. So I have been loving that ever since I purchased it the first time, which was, I believe, after last year's concealer video, which is why I didn't make it in that one. The next one I'm going to talk about is the second one that I talked about like on and on and on and on. I was lucky enough to get the whole set of this sent to me in PR, and I fell so hard for this concealer. Now, this is not on the full coverage side. This is the Hello Fab Bendy Avocado Concealer from First Aid Beauty. This is more of a sheer to light coverage. I did an entire review on this concealer. The reason, so many reasons I love it, but one of the reasons is because it looks so natural on the skin, because it is that more sheer to light coverage. And as I get older, and I've said this before, I know, but as I get older, I care less about covering my dark circles and more about looking like a human being and not somebody that has like 50 pounds of makeup caked on their face. Now, obviously, I've got makeup on this face, but when you look really close on under my eyes, you don't see a lot of cakiness. So I would rather sacrifice coverage for more of a natural finish and look under the eyes, and that is what this does for me. It looks so incredibly natural. Again, I have the whole range, but this is the color 3, and it is pretty much like spot on with the Josie Maran, but that's it right there. I can't speak enough about this concealer. I know a lot of y'all went out and got it after that review and have told me how much you love it too. Now, if you're someone who, you know, can't go without good coverage and feel good about yourself under your eyes, you're not going to want this. But again, if you're someone that has, you know, more of a mature under eye, you need a little bit of moisture throughout the day, but you don't want it to move around and you don't care if it's super high coverage, you just want it to look natural under your eyes, this is what you're going to want to go for. Love that so much. I can't even tell you how much. This next one is the Ilia True Skin Serum Concealer. This is more of like a clean, natural line, the Clean at Sephora stamp of approval. I love the Ilia foundation. I've talked about, in fact, it made my top 5 favorite foundations. I truly love the Ilia brand. Now, I haven't tried everything, so I can't speak on like the eyeshadows or anything like that, but what I have tried so far, I really love. Now, you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, I mean, it's probably down to like right here. I probably used about half of it up. This is in the color Yucca SC2. This has more of a neutral undertone, and I do find that these run a little bit dark. I don't know what SC1 looks like because I have not swatched them, but I do believe they have added colors because I'm looking right now and they have like an SC.5, an SC1.5, and an SC1, and when I purchased it, they only had an SC1, SC2. So this color claims to be light with neutral undertones, but if you can see, like that's not what I would consider light. That's more of a medium color in my opinion. I don't mind that because personally, I don't like to have super bright under eyes. I like it to be more in line with my skin tone, maybe like a quarter of a shade lighter. So that doesn't bother me at all. It actually works for me, but I can see how people buying it thinking that it was a true light color might not be happy with this. They might find it to be too dark. So keep that in mind when you are purchasing. But this is along the same lines as the other concealers I've talked about. It's very, it's very hydrating. It's easy to blend out. I don't really ever have any issues with it creasing or caking, or, you know, I have a tendency because of the facial expressions that I make to get those little like, kind of like fish gills. So the vertical lines like right here on the inner corner of my eyes. And I'm not saying that those never happen with any of these, but these are the least offenders in that category. And so I just find that all the ones I've talked about along with the Ilia, they don't give me those vertical lines as much when I make expressions throughout the day. So that's nice that I don't have to worry about continually patting that out with my finger. So love that one. That's Ilia and SC2. This one's the only drugstore one that I'm going to talk about. And it is the Loreal Infallible Full Wear More Than Concealer. And it comes like this. This is a newer concealer to the Loreal line. I feel like, let me see, I got this in January. So it's been out at least 7 months, but it had just launched then, I believe. Anywho, this is the fullest coverage of all the ones that I'm going to talk about. This actually is a little bit of a dark color on me. It still works because, again, I don't like to be super bright, but this is the color Cashew. I also have the color Bisque. This actually looks pretty similar to the Ilia. It's a little bit different, but that's the color Cashew right there. And again, I have Bisque as well. This is a super full coverage concealer. This to me is what I wanted Tarte Shape Tape to be. Tarte Shape Tape does not work for me. I know it's like, oh my goodness, everybody loves it. I'm not going to say it didn't work for me all the time. There were a couple times that I wore it and I'm like, wow, this is a great concealer. But more often than not, I had not so great experiences with the concealer as far as how heavy it was and how cakey it could look even when I used a very small amount. This is kind of similar in the fact that you don't need a lot of concealer. You really do just need to tap a few dots. Absolutely no need for the big triangles that everybody like puts under their eyes. You just need a little bit to correct the darkness and, you know, conceal your under eyes. So keep that in mind, because I know a lot of people have said they don't like this. A lot of people said they do. And I find that it's kind of along the same lines as the Shape Tape, where it's kind of got a learning curve. You have to treat it a little bit differently than you do other concealers, and you have to treat it per your face. Please, I mean, even me, you can't watch every single YouTuber and think that you can apply makeup the exact same way on your face and have it look the same. We are all different. We all have different texture. We all have different skin tones and skin issues and face shapes, and we're all different. And so what works for someone in application may not work for others. So keep that in mind, and don't totally disregard a product and throw it out the window after using it once. Play with it a little bit and see how it is, because I feel like this, for some people who say they don't like it, it may not just work for some people, but I do think that there is a little bit of a learning curve. So keep that in mind if you plan on trying that, or if you tried it and didn't love it so much. And this next two I'm going to talk about is my favorite. Now, I love them separate, do not get me wrong, but it's my favorite combination as well. So it's kind of why this is 6 instead of 5. This I have truly, I don't think, been using much of anything else. Occasionally I will pull one of these other concealers out, but for the past few months, at least a month and a half since I've had this second one, I have been combining these. This is what I have on under my eyes right now, and it's just pretty magical in my opinion. Now, I know people are going to be like, I am not spending $70, which I believe is how much this is going to be put together, for a concealer. You don't have to. I'm just telling you what works for me. You don't have to. I'm just telling you what works for me. So let's talk about these. This is the concealer, the other concealer that I've actually repurchased. This is the Chanel Corrector, La Corrector de Chanel Concealer in number 30 Beige. So you can also see how much I have used this. It is well on its way to needing to be replaced, because I think I only have like just a little bit. And I opened this one in April because I put little labels on all of my products when I get them. So that's how much I've been using it. Standard Doe Foot applicator. Let me swatch it. This is more of like a peachy undertone, which I really appreciate. That's the color right there. Because I have such dark circles, I need that correcting under my eyes. And I feel like this really helps to do that on top of the corrector that I already use. And it just really lays beautifully. By itself, especially, I would not have repurchased it if I didn't think it was great by itself. It's just a really good concealer. I can't speak enough about this. It works so well. But then I got this sent to me, and this is the YSL Touche Eclat High Cover Radiant Concealer. So this is not the traditional Touche Eclat, which is more of a sheer to light coverage. This is what they call high cover. I do not call it high cover. I think it's medium coverage at best. But again, I'm not mad at that. This is the color number 3. Again, a very peachy undertone. Now, this is the only one I've talked about that actually comes in a brush applicator. I am not a fan of the brush applicators to actually apply the product. So I always just put it on my hand and apply it with my finger and then blend out with my sponge. And it works because I end up mixing this with the Chanel anyways. But that's it right there. So that's number 3. So when I mix these two together, just a little, like one click of the YSL and then just about a half of a doe foot full of the Chanel, mix it on my hand and apply it under my eyes, like birds start singing. Wow, that was dramatic. No, they don't start singing. I start singing because my under eyes look good, and they look good all day. All day. So I really truly can't get off of this Chanel YSL train. It has been an absolute favorite of mine for so long. Again, I don't think you need to go out and buy both. If you have both, I highly recommend mixing them. I am a firm believer in mixology with all of your products, especially if you're not getting good use out of something that you need to before it expires so you don't waste your money. Or if something really didn't work to the standard that you wanted it to, mix it with something you already know you love. And so you get to use it and you may even like it even more. Like I already loved the Chanel, loved it. But when I mix this with it, I love it even more. So really play with your products. I think it's so fun to do that. And you can find some stuff that becomes your very favorite, like that combo. And very quickly, because I know I will be asked, I'm going to show you the correctors that I use on a daily basis and the powder that I use to set my under eyes. So having very dark circles do tend to correct every day. Depending on the day and depending on the amount of makeup, I will either use my Colorescience Total Eye 3-in-1 SPF 35 Renewal Therapy. I've talked about this endlessly, and I had somebody ask me if I still use it. I most definitely still use it. This is the product right here. So it has a very nice peachy undertone and it works wonderful. I will reach for this especially on days where I'm not wearing a ton of makeup because it just gives a very nice wash of correction without putting a ton of product on your eyes or under your eyes. And it also provides you that SPF 35 in a physical coverage, so I love that. And then the other one that I've been using a lot lately is the Jane Iredale Enlighten 1 Concealer. This is marketed as a concealer, but truly this is a corrector. This is very peachy and undertone, and it's not even really going to show up that well on my skin, maybe right here. But this has worked really well as, I was gonna say this works really well as well, and that's a little redundant, but it works really well for me. And so on days where I'm wearing a little bit more makeup or I just feel like reaching for it, I will reach for that. So those are the two correctors. And then truly I have been using the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder for quite a while now. This is not necessarily my favorite powder for the entire face. I know everybody loves it for the entire face, but it is one of my very favorites for under the eyes. I feel like it's very forgiving. It's very satin finish. It's not a radiant finish, so it's not gonna like bring luminosity to under your eyes, because I know a lot of people don't like that. I'm sweating, y'all. But it's also not super matte, which I do not want a very matte powder under my eyes. It's just going to make them look worse. So that has been my absolute favorite to set my eyes for a very long time. So that is the roundup of my favorite concealers, correctors, under eye setting powder. Hopefully this was helpful to some of y'all. I would love to know, as always, your favorite concealer. So please let me know down in the comment section below. And I hope y'all all go out and have a very blessed day.